Sorry about that, Year 7. We got cut off, so this video has had to be split in two. You can see I've done some annotations here. That was before I realized the video had stopped recording. So let me just explain where we left off. I was talking about how many pieces of evidence this student has included in her writing, and there are 8 pieces. And the nice thing about it is that the pieces of evidence aren't necessarily that long. She's broken them into really small chunks, especially here towards the end. Up here, they're maybe a little bit longer, but they're never longer than a line. And I like that because it means that the student, instead of just copying out loads and loads of text, has really focused on the pieces of text that are the most important to use as evidence in response to this question about Gawain being brave. She also alternates evidence and explanation, and you can really see that now I've highlighted it. She's got these two and then some explanation. Another evidence and some explanation. Evidence, explanation. So she never gives evidence without also explaining it. She also manages to explain it using her own words. So let's start at the top and read through. Gawain shows he is brave in the poem by completing the journey to the chapel, even though he knows his fate. You have timed your arrival like a true traveler, and welcome to my world after all your wandering. It shows that even when he didn't know where the chapel place was, he still came. So I gave the tick because that's her explanation in her own words of these two pieces of evidence. Gawain also says, won't whisper a word of unwillingness or one complaint, which shows that he is brave enough to silently ponder the circumstances. And I've done a little squiggle under this bit because I liked how she used her own words, won't whisper, silently, right? So she's changed it to capture the idea that there's no noise, that he's not going to make any protest here. I'll stand stock still means he won't try and cowardly avoid the blade to stop him from dying. He vowed to take the blade shows that Gawain isn't hesitant, that's a great word, and isn't buying time for himself. The nice thing about this explanation, buying time, is that it makes it clear how Gawain is behaving, but it's also not a fancy word. Hesitant is a really great word to use, but if you're not confident enough to use that word, the phrase buying time is still a good one to show that Gawain isn't trying to get out of what he knows is coming to him. And bared his neck and nape, showing courage just like the Green Knight did. And I love this connection to the earlier part of the text in which the Green Knight is beheaded and he doesn't even blink. Gawain accepted the circumstances. So I'm going to put down here connection to earlier part of the story. Because even though you don't want to get sidetracked and write entirely about the early part of the story, this little reminder shows me the student remembers that this scene where Gawain is being beheaded is really closely linked to the scene at the beginning where the Green Knight is beheaded. Then we have this bit, but loath to look afraid means he was unwilling to look scared. Lots of students had a hard time interpreting this phrase, loath to look afraid, but this student has got it correct. Unwilling to look scared. Gawain doesn't want to look like he's afraid. He feigned a fearless state to show that he faked no fear, and that's what it means. Feigned means faked. So she's done a really good job of making sure she's explained that she knows that difficult word, even though he was scared inside. And again, she's correctly interpreted that. So because this student has 8 pieces of evidence and 8 bits of explanation in her own words, I'm going to add that to my list. For explanation. She's earned full marks for this question. Of course, that doesn't mean there aren't some things that this student could still do to improve. So let's have a quick look at that. I'm going to switch and use a black pen for the minute because I can't find a green one. Shh. Okay. So what I think the student could do a little bit better is perhaps use some sentence stems to help her get started. So when she's introducing her evidence, sometimes she has bits where she says, for example, this bit, she says, Gawain also says, and then she has her evidence. And then she says, which shows that,